It's cold, it's horrible, the sea is okay. Several incidents today. We've just come across this one. There's 22 on this. They've come from Iraq, Iran. There's one child on board that I can see, 2 women, mostly men, and that's about the right ratio. It's about 90% men. So far today, there's 100 already come into Dover. We're told of multiple incidents as we speak of Dungeness. So, again, whatever happens today, it's going to be several hundred people. The boats, you can see, are much sturdier than the previous ones we saw in the summer. This is not one of the really big ones, but be assured of one thing. They're going to keep coming throughout the whole of the winter. And, Mark, I wonder, does Priti Patel ever come out here?
I don't know if she's actually been out. She certainly visited those Border Force staff down at Dover who are having to handle all of these people who have been brought across in such significant numbers now that they're having to build a new processing centre for them in Dover itself. Now, they're here, the engine's off. I don't know if they've switched the engine off because we've arrived here and they're hoping for help. That's something that they often do.
As we approached, we could see that the engine was moving. As they saw us approach, they've cut the engine off because they feel that help is close at hand. We've now called in Coast Guard, Border Force, and they'll be out to collect them. But at the moment, there are no Border Force assets. We haven't really got the facilities to take people
We're near the Varn lightship, and where we are actually is quite a bit away from where we're hearing Border Forces, where we're hearing that the lifeboats are tasked at the moment dealing with other incidents. So it could be quite a while before they actually get out here.
There are no free assets at this moment in time. Everything out there is engaged, the lifeboats, Border Force. And quite what they're going to do next summer, when the numbers that come unless something is done will be in multiples of this, I just don't know. But this is the number one issue in British politics. Thousands of people coming in just this month alone. They've all got to be rehoused somewhere in the country. There's no returns policy agreed with France. No sign, actually, that the government has got the guts to just do returns to France, which I think is the only way through this. And it's not just costing us a fortune, but it's actually posing a genuine threat to national security. And no wonder support in this government is falling as sharply as it is. So the traffickers say, when you're met by a boat, turn the engine off immediately, because that then means that it turns into a search and rescue mission. Well, that's all well and good. However, we've got the shipping lanes. If you look just behind me here, major ships passing very, very close to us. So it's a pretty perilous thing to turn the engine off when you're in this position. And I've been amazed over the last 20 months or so that I've really been following this closely. There's not been a major collision in the lanes. The biggest risk now, I think, is hypothermia. These people took off at 6 o'clock this morning, they told us. With the wind direction as it was earlier on, it was rougher earlier on, they would have taken water on board before they were 100 yards off the shore.
The blanket for the little one. Blanket. Oh, quick. Wrap around it, yeah?
So we've now been alongside for about 40 minutes. The skipper of this boat has called Coast Guard to say one of the kids is very, very cold. We have chucked a blanket over onto the boat, and, help is needed. Extraordinarily, it appears that almost all of Border Force, as I speak, are tied up at their moorings in Dover. So we're now waiting for the RNLI to come and do the pickup. Priti Patel, Border Force is not fit for purpose. The Home Office is not fit for purpose. And frankly, I don't think you're fit for purpose either.
Definitely getting worse. I've seen it progressively get worse over the last 12 months. It's really gone quite bad, more coming in.
And I mean, they're obviously we're up more than 25,000 so far this year, and I think the change, we noticed it a bit last year, but definitely this year, even as we're heading to the winter months now with worse weather, they're still coming across. The people smugglers are still pushing them out.
Yeah, they seem to be taking more and more risks now, don't they? I mean, a load of the colder weather's here, but they just doesn't seem to be deterring them whatsoever.
How concerned are you about the potential for a large-scale tragedy here?
Very. It's not a question of if it happens. It's going to be when it happens. It is going to happen. You know, there's no two ways about it.
You're convinced of that?
Yeah, I am. Yeah, definitely. I know how it can be changeable out there in no time.
So the reason the helicopters come is we've reported a young child, very cold. They told us she was cold. We sent a blanket. We've now been here for about 50 minutes, and there's no sign of border force. They're tied up in the harbour. RNLI can't get to us quickly, so they're sending a helicopter to assess the situation to see whether this kid needs to be winched off. I mean, it's just extraordinary. Border force, it doesn't work.
So as you see the helicopter circling round our boat, the lifeboat is just reaching the migrants now as well, Nigel.
Yes.
The
Yes.
Dover lifeboat 1709, just coming up to that boat. Not the smallest of migrant boats, but still, you know, a fairly small and flimsy vessel, about 8 metres long.
7, I would say.
Yeah.
I mean, the bigger ones are 11, and the rumours are there are ones up to 20 metres long that'll be coming next year. You know, and they will obviously be very pleased to get in somewhere nice and warm. Yeah. But yeah, the burden on the lifeboat crew, the cost of all of this that is going on every day is enormous. And, you know, we've been listening to the channels this morning. I mean, this is constant work for the ferries, for commercial vessels to try and avoid these craft. Mercifully today, no major collisions, but it's only a matter of time. We're back in Dover Harbour. Pleased to say that Hurricane, one of the Border Force boats, has just gone back out, so they're clearly off their lunch break. Quite why, when we needed somebody, they weren't about, I don't know. The lifeboat that picked up the group that we found, with 22 of them, hasn't come back in. Why? Because they found yet another boat, at least one other boat, and Border Force, it seems, are now being scrambled all over the place. So even though it's only 12:30 and we're back in, it's pretty obvious this is going to be going on for the whole of the afternoon. I thought earlier on it might be a quiet day, 200 or 300. It's going to be much, much bigger than that. And here we see Border Force heading out. So they're now sending out some serious assets. There's obviously a lot happening in the channel right now, and there's no sign of an end to it. They don't look particularly pleased to see GB News, but they've given us a wave, which is nice of them. Look, you know, this is a major crisis, the number one issue in British politics. I've tried for over 20 months to highlight this, to get something done. And I think GB News, since it's launched as a channel, has completely dominated this space. We've led the way with this story. The other media are constantly playing catch up with us, but at least now they are playing catch up.